No, we want this.
This is KC Sports Tonight.
There we are. Hey there.
Hi.
Still working out the kinks. Welcome, everybody. It is the new streaming edition of KC Sports Tonight. Scott Reese, Marlia Campbell. Good to be with you on a Tuesday. And we got some things going on starting. Well, first, I guess we should explain what we're doing here in case you missed the debut installment of the new KC Sports Tonight. Obviously a different time. Hopefully you've watched us on occasion at 6:30 on KCTV5. We have now taken our act to the streaming platform, and all that entails. 5:30 Monday through Friday, we will be here, or at least two of us will be here, Jared Kohler, Neil Jones, the other two potential candidates. And sometimes we'll be here, sometimes we'll be elsewhere. But we'll be with you every weeknight at 5:30 for about 20 minutes. And then the weekend, KC Sports Tonight, remains intact, as you have come to know and love, at 10:30 over on KCTV5. So, Marlia, how are you?
Good. Lots of fun. Day 2 of this new endeavor, I guess you would call it.
Yeah.
But it's been a lot of fun. As you know, you and I have been talking a lot kind of in the office and stuff about how this is just kind of a new platform and a new opportunity to talk about sports in a different way. I mean, it's I mentioned yesterday, I'm a big podcast listener myself, kind of on the way to work to get caught up for the day. So this is an opportunity to do that and to find like a niche channel to get all of your top Kansas City sports headline in one compact little 20-minute podcast. Or if you're listening to this on Facebook or YouTube or whatever your kind of go-to content consuming platform is. But it's also, this is going to be fun because it's a cool opportunity to get involved with the listeners and the viewers a little bit. We got the Facebook Live comments on. So if you have any questions or if you want to send us emails of maybe things you'd like to chat about that day. And again, we talked about yesterday as well that this is kind of an interesting time of the year where a lot of Chiefs workouts and things are closed off to the public until we get to training camp. So, they're not going to have very many public events between now and its season, but or I guess training camp out in St. Joe, but we will be at all of them. So we are at rookie mini camp. We'll be talking about that for a while. We got OTAs coming up here shortly, mandatory mini camp, and then St. Joe. So lots of Chiefs content, lots of Royals content. And we're going to get into some of that today. Scott and I are in the clubhouse at least once a week. It's typically been talking to guys. So lots of different stuff coming up on the show. I'm excited.
Yep. Consider it kind of our version of the sports bar, but instead of Greg the bartender, we have Greg the assignment desk editor over there. And what you can't see behind the red and the blue here is like the actual KCTV5 newsroom is right behind us. So like all the anchors and reporters they get to eavesdrop on us and try and do their jobs at the same time. So good luck with that. Okay, first things first, your Kansas City Royals. And I think last night was, I don't want to overstate the importance of one win, but the weekend was tough, and we talked about this yesterday when they blew a late lead, particularly in the Sunday game against the Rangers. So you have another good team, the Milwaukee Brewers, coming into the K. You find yourself down 2-0 going to the 7th inning, and you're thinking, oh boy, we're going to have another wasted great pitching performance. Cole Reagans was fantastic, but he gave up the one homer. And then they score 3 in the 7th. They win 3-2, and I think that gives you a much better feeling given what we had 24 hours ago.
Yeah, a tough weekend with the blowout loss, Scott. I know you were there on Saturday. Yeah. And Sunday giving up that one late when you thought, okay, we can win the series against the defending World Series champs here, and then kind of giving that one up, giving a run up in the 8th, 9th, and 10th to lose that game. Kind of felt like a disappointing, half step back, I guess. But big win yesterday. I mean, the Brewers were 16-1 when they led through 6 innings, so to come back and rally back against that team. I think Matt Quatraro said it best when he said there's something like intangible about this team where they just don't really go away. And
they're like gnats.
Yeah, they're just sticky. Yeah. Like I'm sure we're used to in the Kansas City Summers here, just kind of that they'll cling to you. And that's a good problem, I guess, to have, good asset to have as a Royals fan, which is that knowing games really aren't ever over right now. in no means am I comparing this roster to the 2014-2015 era, but that team had that quality of they just knew how to win ball games, and there was no.
And that's a big deal.
Yeah,
learning how to win, because last year, right?
Knew how to lose.
It was absent.
It was I mean, at the beginning of games, you'd get down, and it's like, wow, this is probably over.
Yeah.
This team has that rally mentality that we haven't seen in the last decade, at least 7 or 8 years or so, consistently.
It's been a while, and it was a cute story when it was the 3rd week in April, but now we're coming up on the 2nd week in May, and you see the record there. They're 6 games over 500, which is good, and you compare it with last year on May 7th, they were 8-26, and the season was essentially over.
Yeah.
So the difference is so palpable, and like you said, we've been in the clubhouse, and you can just sense the 180, and not just
the
in terms of what we see, but the optimism, and they really believe now that they can be in this thing.
And I think everyone's kind of over the word this is a rebuilding year. That's what we talked about a lot last year, kind of an evaluation year. I think the Royals as a collective clubhouse right now are oh no, we're in this right now. This could be a potential Blue October year for us.
Yeah, and the Centrals, it's winnable.
Up for the taking. Yeah. I mean, again, as you mentioned, in every year I can remember since 2015. I mean, they haven't had a winning season since 2015. At this point in the season, it's already kind of been all right, let's move on to what's next.
Oh, when's training camp? Yeah,
May 7th. Time to wrap it up here. But so I think we've in my opinion passed the threshold of this is not beginner's luck isn't the right term, but kind of that false sense of optimism.
Right. How real is it?
Yeah, you're 2-0 and you're okay. I think we're past that point of where this team has all of the pieces it will take to have a consistent year, hopefully have a winning season. And again, hopefully we're talking about this team into August and September, which Kansas City fans haven't had that luxury for a long time.
Yeah, you throw out the word consistent. At home, they've been amazingly consistent, and you see the note there, 14-7 this year, tied with the Phillies for the best mark in all of baseball. Yeah. But if you go back to the All-Star break of a year ago, so we're talking now about basically 80% of a major league season from mid-July last year to mid-May this year, the Royals have the best home record in the American League over that stretch. And that includes a lot of last year when they weren't very good.
Yeah.
So that tells you that they are really consistent at home. The mark of truly great teams is the ability to win consistently on the road, and you hope that will come. Not that they've been terrible on the road, but they're a game under 500 on the road, 7 over at home, and that's where you've got to be a little bit better. If you really want to contend, you got to figure out how to win on the road as well.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Now tonight, don't have to worry about that tonight because they are back at home. And as we
hopefully dry. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, seriously. Well, hey, look, smart on them for moving the game up a half hour yesterday because they got it in. It was all good. But they'll send Seth Lugo to the mound tonight. And you look at the numbers: 5-1 with a .160 ERA. Seth Lugo is a good major league pitcher. And when they signed him in the offseason, it was okay, nice. You got Michael Wacha, you got Seth Lugo, you got some legitimate rotation arms. They're not world beaters, but they're going to keep you in games, and it's much better than we had a year ago. It was all kind of the disclaimers. And here we are, and the dude is sitting on 5-1 with a 1.60 ERA. So that's not sustainable. I mean, I don't think that's barely sustainable for Jacob deGrom or, the best pitchers in baseball to be at that level, from start to finish. But, man, Seth Lugo has stumbled onto something. His last 2 years were far and away the best of his major league career, which means he's getting better. And I don't think his arm has gotten better in his 30s, so it means he's really figured out how to pitch. And now we're seeing that he obviously loves pitching in this ballpark. But, man, I mean, if you can back up Cole Reagans, who is a legitimate major league ace, with Seth Lugo doing what he's doing, that really, that's a big reason why this team has been as good as they are. He's won, 25% of their games by himself.
Yeah. I mean, he leads the American League in wins. And remember, the Royals signed him to a 3-year, $45 million deal. That's a bargain at this point.
For those numbers?
Yeah. So,
no
I mean, a big ad this year. The Royals spent so much good money this offseason. I mean, it felt like all offseason we were sitting in the sports office with big release after big release, big sign after big
It
sign.
seemed like it all happened within like a week, though.
Yeah.
And
then it was like the
who did
bow
they sign
tie
today?
with Bobby
Yeah.
Witt Jr. when we were at the Super Bowl. We were in
Yeah.
Las Vegas getting ready to cover that. So it's just like, and it's cool seeing, I guess, all that pay off these last couple of weeks.
Yeah. Thanks for doing that during Super Bowl week.
Yeah.
by the way. That's good timing.
We didn't
on
have
that.
much else going on.
Uh-oh. Wow. Okay. Well,
Oh, no.
we'll see what we can do, but I'm not sure. Oh, that's you. I thought that was me.
I think it's me.
You got the remote over there? See, this is. I would say it's live TV, but it's live TV-ish.
Well,
So yeah.
help.
Bartender. Thanks. See,
Yay.
Gabe's on it. Gabe is the unsung
Our
hero
behind-the-scenes
of KC
hero.
Sports Tonight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway.
If you want to make a cameo so they can see you, Gabe, and see our hero, we'll get that back as it should be. Anyway, that game, normal time tonight. No weather issues, so they will play it at 6:40, and it'll be Seth Lugo against Colin Ray, another guy who's been better than advertised. You see the 3-0 with a 2.67. Milwaukee's a good team. I'll repeat it. So you can win tonight and all of a sudden have a chance to go for a sweep tomorrow. They'll play day baseball. I mean, how good would that feel to put yourself in a position to sweep another home series and kind of keep that momentum going before you hit the West Coast for the first time this year? We'll have late baseball as they go to Anaheim later this week and the slumping Angels. So an opportunity here really to have a really good week and stay competitive in what has been a strangely good American League Central.
Yeah.
Nobody saw this coming.
Yay.
Hey,
Thank
look,
you, Gabe.
You're back, but now mine.
our,
except now mine is messed up.
Oh, no.
Gabe,
well,
buddy.
For our podcast listeners who have no idea what's going on.
If you only have audio.
Yes, we are dealing with background issues.
Background
but
issues.
Again, podcast listeners are like, what is with all the whining and groping? But we got it figured out, mostly.
This is the problem. I think you need the other remote, though, don't you? It's two different remotes? No. See,
Okay.
he's all over it. All right. Moving on. You mentioned, I do believe, Chiefs rookie minicamp. We talked a lot about this yesterday. But there's 74 guys at rookie minicamp. And, of course, everybody's focused on the draft picks. But there's 74 dudes there.
Yeah.
And a lot of these guys have no prayer of playing professional football. It's just a fact. But there are guys who are undrafted free agents who will be at training camp and who certainly hope that they put themselves in a position where even if they can't make the 53-man, maybe they, stick as a practice squad guy. And you got to you did a feature today on one such player who is not just another guy hoping to make an NFL roster, but he is a guy who has a lot invested in this area, given his upbringing, and I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, to say the least. We're talking about Phillip Brooks, the Lee Summit West alum, so high school in the area in the Kansas City Metro. Then he went to Kansas State, played 6 seasons there, so he played a long time there because, of course, he was in the COVID era. He redshirted, but he had a really phenomenal season there in 2020. He led all of FBS in return yards, had 2 return touchdowns. So just a really, really good career in Manhattan. A guy that also set the total yardage record with the Titans when he was playing high school ball here. So talked to his coach back in the day. He's since retired from Lee Summit West, but Vinny Careswall got to catch up with him a little bit today. We talked to Brooks yesterday at training camp, and he has a really unique opportunity here. Again, he's an undrafted free agent, but when he had the opportunity to sign with the Chiefs, he grew up going to games at Arrowhead. Yeah. So we asked him, did that, kind of tip the needle a little bit? And he said, of course it did. I'm a Chiefs fan. My family's a Chiefs fan. But talking to my agent and talking to my family, this is a franchise where I could really fit in. He's a talented receiver. He's a really, really talented returner. And the Chiefs have openings in those positions. So it's kind of his position or his opportunity for the taking. He's going to have a really good offseason here coming up at OTAs, into mandatory minicamp, into training camp is going to be huge for him. But, he's extremely explosive. He's a good returner. The Chiefs have had issues at that in the past. I mean, I'm having flashbacks right now to all the drop issues that we've seen over the years at that position. So, K-State got the nickname Special Teams U for a reason. They really hammer that home over in Manhattan. Brooks is really taking that into account, and he's saying, if I'm going to get on the field for this team, it's going to be at special teams. That is where I'm putting in my focus. I hope we see him on the 53, but again, we'll see how the next 2-3 months go. Yeah,
and, we'll talk ad nauseum about the Chiefs receiver room leading up to and certainly when we get to training camp. But the kick return spots are interesting, too. Mecole Hardman did that for a spell last year, but he's no longer here.
Sky Moore 2 seasons ago.
Sky Moore, disaster 2 seasons ago, so I don't think he fits into the return game. Kadarius Toney, okay, well, what's Kadarius Toney's future with this team? We don't know. We'll see. It's so I think you use the word opportunity. I think it's clear that there is a major opportunity not just to be on the depth chart, but to be that guy, and it could. I mean, it's not crazy to think that the competition for the starting kick and punt returner jobs could come down to undrafted free agent Phillip Brooks from Kansas State and undrafted free agent Louis Rees-Zammit from Wales.
Yeah.
It's not crazy.
Which is unbelievable to, if you would have asked us this question a year ago, I don't think we would have said 2 undrafted free agents and one guy from Wales rugby player who has never played an organized game of football in his life. That said, he's ridiculously fast. We talked on the show about he's clocked a 24.2 mile per hour sprint in a rugby game, which would have beaten all times in any NFL game last season. So that's certainly a guy to watch. Phillip Brooks, again, a guy to watch at that position as well. And the competition is for these guys taking. I mean, we've talked about positions we're most interested in going into training camp, which we got a little bit of time before that. That's when we get to see full contact football. So when we talk about rookie training camp, we talk about mandatory minicamp. A lot of
grain
times
of salt.
We're looking at 7-on-7. We're looking at, guys in shells, unguarded return drills. I mean, it's... I'm a basketball player. Played Division I basketball. Watching someone shoot threes unguarded is kind of like, okay, well,
I can do that.
Great, but yeah, exactly. Yeah, what are you going to do when you're exhausted and you have a hand in your face? So anyway, position battles we're most looking at going into training camp. Left tackle is going to be huge between Wanye Morris and Kingsley Sumataiea, the second-round draft pick that the Chiefs picked up this
You've been
season.
practicing that.
I have. And you know what? I have most messed up his first name, which is...
Kingsley?
Yes, which is
That's not hard.
An achievement on its own. But... So the left tackle is going to be huge. And I think the wide receiver room, just kind of the pecking order is going to be huge. Obviously, some off-field drama to throw in the mix there, some uncertainty, I guess.
Yeah.
But, the Chiefs went for a wide receiver in the first round. First time the Chiefs have done that in the Brett Veach era. I think that speaks to how highly they're prioritizing this position this season and maybe how uncertain they are about the pecking order going into the late offseason here.
A couple other notes from the world of sports today from Kansas. And Johnny Furphy has declared for the NBA draft. We knew that. And Bill Self today spoke out on his soon-to-be former forward. And you read the quote from Self, I believe. I don't want to steal your thunder here.
He's reportedly saying that he thinks Furphy's going to stick with the draft, which I think is interesting. We'll see where that goes. Furphy's a guy I would have liked to see come back and get another season under his belt. We've seen so many players in the Bill Self system do that. I think back to even just recently, Ochai Agbaji coming back for his senior campaign, Jalen Wilson coming back for his senior season campaign. That's really paid off in the past. Just because guys really, really develop in the Bill Self system. But that said, I mean, these guys have, guys in their ears that are telling them what's right. They have NBA scouts who are telling them where they could see them going. So, wishing him the best in whatever he decides. But, I tend to always lean towards more years in college, the better, especially now that NIL's in play.
Right.
But we'll see how that all pans out, I guess.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. The eyeball test to me says another year in college would be the right move for Johnny Furphy. He had about 4 really impressive weeks last season, but that's 4 weeks out of the entire season. First third, he wasn't great. The last fourth, he wasn't great. The tools are clearly there. I like the player. I think he has an NBA skill set. To say he's not ready is an understatement. He's absolutely not ready to contribute at the NBA level. So you say, well, then why go to the G League? Why not come back and get your NIL money and really thrive at the college level in the Bill Self system, a year bigger and stronger? I mean, it just seemed to me that this to me screams a 2-and-out player, not a 1-and-out, one-and-done player.
Yeah.
2-and-done, not 1-and-done. But I don't get to make that call.
Yeah.
You don't get to make that call.
Well.
So, we'll root for him, and hopefully it works. Here's the other thing. You look at some of these mock drafts, and I think the consensus is mid to late first round, but I saw one today that had him in the second round. I mean, you don't leave Kansas early to go be a second-round pick.
Yeah.
and not get a guaranteed contract.
Yep.
So you better be darn sure you're going in that first round, and hopefully he and his agent have such assurances from teams who have said, look, if you're there at 24, we're taking you. But, that happens, and they don't always hold true. So anyway, it's an interesting decision by a guy who I think is borderline to be a one-and-done player.
Speaking of development in the Kansas basketball system, Danny Manning, one of the greatest to ever do it in terms of developing big men at KU. Goodness gracious, if you can think of the names that he's just turned into absolute beasts in their third and fourth years in Kansas. Darrell Arthur, Darnell Jackson, that 2008 team, a lot of guys, Jeff Withey, a lot of guys that come through that system. News today that he's going to Colorado. So bummer for Kansas, especially because Colorado's coming to the Big 12.
Colorado's coming to the Big 12,
We're going to see Danny Manning back in Lawrence. All kudos to Colorado and the Buffaloes. They got a great guy who's going to develop a lot of big men, really like true fives. Kansas kind of lacked a true five in these last couple seasons. KJ Adams maybe sliding into that position sometimes,
right.
But we could do another 3 hours on the evolution of the true five in men's college basketball.
The de-evolution of the true five.
But anyway, big get for Colorado. Will be fun to see him back in Lawrence. I'm sure he'll have a welcome standing ovation from the Allen Fieldhouse crowd when he comes back.
Yeah.
But that's some more big news today in Jayhawk country.
Yeah, no, and underrated basketball program too. Tad Boyle, one of the more underrated coaches I think in America, has done a really good job. Colorado basketball doesn't get a lot of pub, but they've been in the NCAA tournament more often than not under his watch.
Yeah.
And so I think this only makes them better. And coming to the Big 12, you better you're playing big boy basketball,
Yes.
being in the best conference in America.
Fun fact we can end on: my favorite college basketball memory was winning at Colorado. They were ranked number 10 in the country. It was our last game before we got to go home for Christmas. I think my junior season, maybe. So upset the number 10 team in the country, and then got to go on a flight to go home for Christmas. Easily the best memory of my college basketball career was in Boulder. There you go.
And just think, if you had Danny Manning coaching
you. If I would have had Danny Manning coaching me.
Sky's the limit.
You
wouldn't be sitting here right now. It would be our loss.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, in the WNBA's game.
We'll never know.
Yeah. I've seen that balky shoulder. All right. Hey, thanks for checking out day 2 of the new KC Sports Tonight. You're off tomorrow, right? So it'll be...
I am. Oh, this feels like a good time to mention, too, that we are putting this on all of our podcast streaming platforms.
Yes.
So Apple,
so if you only caught the last minute and you
Spotify.
thought, man, I wish I heard the first 22 minutes of that.
Do we have good news for you?
Wherever you get your podcasts, look for KC Sports Tonight. We will be there early and often. All right, signing off. I'll be on the 6 o'clock news. See you there. You have a good off day tomorrow, and Neil Jones will be trying to take your place. Not possible. He'll do his best. All right.